I want to get to an issue that's been recently making headlines in Russia. The Economy Minister Alexey Uliukaev was arrested, charged with taking a 2 million bribe, allegedly for agreeing to the sale of the oil company Rosneft to the oil giant Rosneft. Lots of speculation as to why this is happening. It's very unusual to have a minister arrested and charged. What do you think is happening?
У меня нет какой-то инсайдерской информации.
I don't have any insider's information that I could rely on so that I could share it with you here. But if we just try to think about it in reasonable terms, well, we have Minister Uliukaev. He has been an official for 25 years, not just a minister. He's very well versed in all these bureaucratic games. And then take Igor Sechin. He is well known in Russia as a person who is not just in control of the law enforcement agencies, but he also likes to use FSB and other law enforcement agencies to resolve his commercial objectives. So, to believe that in such a situation, Minister Uliukaev, in the office of Mr. Sechin, tries to make him pay him $2 million, well, this is really very difficult to believe. I would rather believe that Mr. Sechin, in a manner very typical for him, has provoked Mr. Uliukaev, and he used his people who were there from FSB. That's a more plausible story for me. What has happened in reality, I think we'll come to know the truth very soon.
Obviously, you mentioned Igor Sechin, who is the head of Rosneft, someone who's very close to Vladimir Putin, someone you've had issues with in the past when you were at the helm of Yukos. Actually, the company he heads, Rosneft, probably benefited from the dismantling of your company. Do you see this man as really a major power in Russia today?
Well,
I believe that Igor Sechin is not exactly the power broker if we refer
Vladimir
to...
Putin is.
Скорее, это все-таки Владимир Путин.
I think it's more leaning towards Vladimir Putin, because Igor Sechin is not a person who is concerned about state problems. He's dismantled Yukos, that's true, but he didn't do it for the sake of the state. He did it only because he wanted to benefit personally, in material terms. And although he is not the owner of the Rosneft company, his income is good enough now, and he can afford, well, let's stick to the facts though. He called an 85-meter-long yacht after his wife. That's what we read in a newspaper. I don't remember which Russian newspaper it was, Vedomosti or some other news outlet. Well, and he didn't refute this information. And this is a man who's never worked in business, in the private sector. So we can see that this is a person who's been exploiting the state machinery and its most punishing tool, the law enforcement agency and FSB, for his own benefit, for his interests. And I don't think I would call this person a state broker. No, this is just a leech. That's who he is.
Right. But do you think this arrest and so on is the illustration of a power struggle in Russia, or do you think Vladimir Putin is still clearly in control and he's the one calling all these shots?
I'm certain that it's not about power in Russia. I think this current situation, and again, this is just my opinion, because again, as I've said, I don't have any insider's information. I think this is an attempt to block the economic segment of the government, who is against opaque privatization of Rosneft. I think it's also an attempt to exploit the system for their own sake. Now, especially in the pre-election campaign, because the presidential election is coming in 2018. And what is more, it's some kind of turf war between the siloviki and the liberal wing among the people who are close to Putin. But when it comes to these terms, liberal and force structures, well, we need to make certain disclaimers, because it boils down to the same, more or less, group of people who have been exploiting the system, and that's what they have been doing for almost 2 decades, because they've been at the top of the Russian pyramid for that long.